For Want of Caution by Mayanpa. Chapter 4. I have been held in some dreaming state. Time moved strangely in that basement. Maybe it was the head drama, maybe it was the lack of sleep from the pain, or maybe it was simply what happens when you force an immortal man into a small area with nothing to mark the passing of time except the random changing of the guards. Whatever it was, time seemed to slip for Hob. One moment he was curled on the ground, feeling his bruises bloom like galaxies across his skin. The next he was lying in a field with his Eleanor and Robin, where everything was beautiful and nothing hurt. But then Robin's laughing face turned worried, and the fields turned cold, and his son begged him, "Please don't die." Hob tried to reassure him that he couldn't, that he was safe, but his words would not come, and he watched as his sweet Robin's face shifted into that of Alex Burgess, terrified and determined, holding bread and a glass of water, as if they were a sword and shield that he could fight off death with, if he just willed it hard enough. Hob drank the offered water, and then as he ate, the bread turned into pastries in his mouth, taste exploding across his tongue, his first filling meal in 80 years. The disgusted glares from the pub's patrons, guards, he thought, should have been more off-putting, but it was only the eyes of the stranger, Dream, that were enough to pull him away from the food in front of him. The light from the fireplace flickered in the man's eyes, but no, it was the light from the lamp reflected off the glass prison. But there was no glass prison in 1689, was there? Hob tried desperately to hold on to that thought, but the pain and confusion dragged it away from him like a leaf down a raging river. "Shit, do you think it's a concussion? I don't think you should be sleeping." The centuries began to mix together faster and faster, a swirling vortex of colors and sounds. It was too much, too many sensations, and Hob wished desperately for anything solid to anchor him through this storm. Suddenly the world stilled, settling into the visage of the white horse. The warmth of the pub was accentuated by the countless candles stationed around the walls, which sparkled merrily in the stained glass, and the large mirror behind the bar. Kit Marlowe laughed heartily at Geoffrey Chaser in a corner booth. A goat wandered in, nibbling at a top-hat that an unfortunately drunk young Shakespeare had left on a bench. Hob's hair was no longer short, the errant strands tickling his cheeks. His favorite overcoat fit comfortably over a lusciously embroidered doublet that he remembered. He could feel the silk stockings underneath the pair of soft leather boots that he had lost during the Cornish rebellion back in 1497. All of it should have been too warm in the heat of the room, but instead it felt cozy, like a hug welcoming him home. "You should not have come for me, Hob Gadling." Hob spun around to find a stranger sitting in a booth by the same fireplace that Hob had waxed poetic about back in 1489. He, however, did not recognize the black cloak that the man wore, nor had he ever seen the man's hair so wild, as if he had decided that gravity was optional for him, and gravity had obeyed. Hob took a seat at the bare table with a smile. "And you should have known that I will do whatever it is I chose to do, especially if it's in aid of a friend." A slight smile crept across the stranger's mouth. Hob grinned in victory and reached down to grab a sip from a flagon of ale that definitely hadn't been there before. His grin dimmed. "This isn't real, is it? I'm dreaming?" he asked, looking over for confirmation. The man looked back at him, strangely disappointed. "Just because something is a dream does not mean that it's not real." They both fell back into silence, only the sound of the crackling fireplace accompanying their thoughts. "But Jess called you that, you know. Dream." He waited for a response, but when none came, he pushed on. "Is that your name?" The man beside him went still. "I had not wished for you to learn my identity from the likes of Roderick Burgess," he said reluctantly, bitterness glittering in his eyes. Hob could understand what he meant. It felt like they had been robbed of something that they had been building towards for over half a millennia. Perhaps it was being back in this same booth, or perhaps it was Roderick Burgess's poisonous words in his ears. But an old fear, one that he had never entirely settled, arose within him. The crushing weight of, "Why me? What cost does immortality have, and who do I owe it to?" "Was you right about me, Burgess?" Hob asked hesitantly. "Am I one of yours? One of Death's?" The other man stared at him for a while. Slowly, as though Hob would bolt at the slightest provocation, He reached over and grabbed a hand that Hob had resting on the table. His skin was cool to the touch, and Hob realized with a start that this might be the first time that the other man had ever purposefully touched him.
You belong to no one but yourself, Hob Gadling. You owe no one nothing,
he said softly, but with surety. The feeling of relief was dizzying, and Hob was certain that he would have fallen apart without Dream's hand holding him together. While Dream had certainly implied it enough over the years, to hear it reiterated so clearly was something that he hadn't known that he'd needed. And if he shed a few tears at this, well, he trusted that his friend wouldn't tell. "Yeah, we'll tell that to my pub dad," he said, trying to laugh off the moment. He was rewarded with a slight grin at the edge of Dream's mouth in return. He regretfully removed his hand from the other man's to swipe at his eyes. "I know that I don't owe it to you, but I would like to help you leave this damn place. Might do, while we are at it. Do you have any clue how?" Dream looked at the old pub around them with a dry grin.
If you truly don't like this choice of venue, you may change it at any time.
"I've scoffed, little shit. You know that's not what I mean." The man's grin faded, and Hob felt a momentary pang of guilt for being the cause of it.
"No, I suppose not."
Hob forced himself to stay silent as he waited for Dream.
"The circle binds myself and my power, the glass my physical form. If you were to break both, then I would be freed."
"Hob frowned. I don't understand. If the circle binds your power, then how will we talk it?"
"I am the dreaming, Hob. The circle may prevent me from utilizing it, but it cannot prevent me from seeing the dreams of others, for I am those dreams."
He paused, as if uncertain of how to continue.
"But it takes power to do so, power that the circle has stripped from me, and power that I have been denied since I came here. I used to be able to visit the dreams of any creature in the world on a whim, and now I can't even visit those of the men who sleep a floor above me. Yours are the closest that I've been to in 10 years, and even that was harder than I believed possible."
"Shit, if I'm adding it..."
"No,"
Dream reassured him.
"It is good for me to be in the dreaming, even if I am as limited as this."
Hob nodded, grateful for that fact. "And what about the glass? I've seen you control sand before, and isn't glass just another form of sand?"
"That is precisely why it works. My sand is a part of me. By using sand, it is as though it is myself that is holding me here, not a simple substance. The lack of true access to the dreaming does not help in these matters."
Hob nodded. "So break the circle and break the glass." His stomach sank as he struggled to think of a way that he could access either. "Why don't you speak to him? It would be easy enough to come up with a lie that would make it easier to escape." Dream looked at Hob as if he had struck him.
"You would have me so easily relinquish my last piece of agency?"
Immediately guilt hit Hob. "No,
Do you truly believe that a man like Roderick Burgess would ever honor his promises? That he would ever risk the security of his prize?"
Dream hissed, helpless anger and shame shaking his whole frame. Hob reached out across the table, taking Dream's hand in his own. The man looked up, startled at the touch, and gazed back at Hob questioningly. "I would never ask you to do something that you are uncomfortable with. That man is a monster, and deserves to be put down like one." Hob said firmly, "I want to get you out of this fucking place, but none of it means doing it in a way that will make things worse for you than they already are." Dream was silent, and for a second Hob was terrified that he had pushed him too far.
"I do not deserve your friendship, Robert Gadling,"
Dream said, dropping eye contact. Hob gave the and in is as grace. "Well, it's a good thing that it's not up to you, isn't it?"
"Indeed."
His lips quirked up in the beginning of a smile. It, however, faded, and Dream reluctantly withdrew his hand.
"It is not safe for you to stay here this long with your injury."
Hob sighed. "You're right. I'm just not looking forward to whatever's waiting for me when I wake up."
"Do not further injure yourself on my behalf,"
Dream ordered. "No promises." Dream shot him a glare. I'm joking, mostly. Honestly, I'm just glad that Burgess stopped when he did. I don't know how many more hits it would have taken for my survival to have gone from lucky to suspicious.
There shouldn't have been any,
Dream said darkly, his voice promising endless pain. You're right, he replied placatingly, not wanting to encourage Dream's protective anger any further than he already had. He let out a sigh, his eyes roaming longingly across the pub. I really don't want to leave this place.
You can always return here.
With you? Hob asked, suddenly feeling uncertain.
If I am able.
Hob nodded. That was probably as good as he was going to get. Dream stood smoothly up from his chair and reached out to help Hob, who gratefully took the help standing.
It's time.
Hob nodded and braced himself. Oh no.
Then awake,
Dream ordered. And Hob awoke with a gasp.